On December 14th, 2012, there was a school shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut. This follows several other mass shootings in the past few years.
A suspect is in custody, identified as 24-year-old James Holmes.
Arizona Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords is said to be battling for her life after she was shot while greeting constituents outside of a grocery store in Tucson.
However, this mass shooting was different. Not just because the victims were young children, not just because the shooting happened in a state with strict gun laws on the books, but because, you see, Newtown, Connecticut is my hometown. As our nation mourns and grieves, our leaders in Washington have pledged to take action to enact gun control laws. These actions have received bipartisan support.
We can't tolerate this anymore. These tragedies must end. And to end them, we must change.
Friday changed everything. It must change everything. We all must begin anew and demand that Washington's old way of doing business is no longer acceptable.
As I struggle to understand how such a vile act could take place so close to home, I wanted to examine the issue of mental health. Often in these shootings, mental health plays a huge role, and I wanted to figure out just how people buy guns and what sort of checks are in place to prevent the mentally ill from getting access to firearms.
This is the mental health release, enabling them to look into your, basically your hospital records to determine whether or not you've ever been in a mental hospital for more than 30 days voluntarily, or have you ever been involuntarily committed. If you've been in a mental hospital for more than 30 days voluntarily, you are prohibited. If you've been in a mental hospital, if you've been committed to a mental hospital, you are prohibited, even if you're there for freaking 10 minutes. So when you become prohibited, you're a convicted felon, or you've been in a mental hospital, they add your name to a list. When you try, when your information comes back through that system, they say deny. It's the same thing with this part in Connecticut, okay? Is that everybody's sitting here talking about mental health, all this stuff. We were having just evil. The guy's just evil, okay? And that exists in this world. It happens. It's unfortunate, but it happens everywhere in the world. But depriving good people of means to defend themselves or their sport, who have done nothing wrong, there's nothing more un-American than that.
One of the things we realized in our research is that even though mass shootings make it the headlines, gun crime and gun violence kill far more people each year. We also spoke with Bill Daddio, a 30-year law enforcement veteran and Georgetown professor, and asked his opinion on the issue of gun crime versus mass shootings.
Most people who kill somebody have nothing to do with mental illness. They get mad, they're upset, and they're going to do something about it, and before they can think about it, the act is already done.
What causes gun crime is what causes crime in general. So it's going to be socioeconomic issues, cultural issues, and that is what we're dealing with. It's not, the gun is to a certain degree a means to an end, okay? But it's simply just a tool in the end.
One thing I can say is the evidence is out on whether having guns or not having guns has any impact on the violence. The results were inconclusive, so we really don't know that answer. I'm a pragmatist. You're not going to keep guns out of the hands of the people of the United States. But I do go back to New York City, a place that you couldn't walk at night. Is today one of the safest cities that it's ever been, and it's really a pretty safe place. And they've done it not by controlling guns, they do control guns in New York City, but by changing the behavior of the people and the cooperation of the people with each other, with the police, and I think that's where your solution lies.
What I hope to leave you with is the idea that gun violence is a much broader issue than is portrayed in the media, and that any solution has to come not only from gun laws, but also from changing our culture and our behavior, and that will be a much harder problem for our nation to address.